So according to StreamYard, we're live, and I just glancing over here at the YouTube real quick. Just so according to StreamYard, we're live. Oh, someone's hearing me.
Yeah, just glancing
over here at the YouTube real quick.
Okay. Yep.
Got it.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Whoever that is, mute that. Okay. All right. We're live. It's official. So welcome to Carnivore Talk, and we're going to do a continuation of last week's discussion. This Memorial Day, hopefully everyone got to grill some meat and enjoy themselves. Looks like Meathead still is.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And like we do every Monday, we've got room for 10 people on this screen. And so if you have a webcam and a microphone and some courage, you're welcome to join us as well. To get the link to the StreamYard link, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can be a channel member for a small monetary donation, and the link is in there. Or you can, for free, register over at carnivoretalk.com. That's the community where we talk and support one another every day of the week. And you can find the link to get in there, and it's absolutely no charge whatsoever. So we would love to have you. Of course, if you just want to watch and chat, we love interacting with the comments in the chat. So feel free to interact with us, and we'll get to those comments in a bit once we get rolling here. So how is everybody's Monday? Anybody want to share what they did or what they got to eat today?
I'm sharing right there.
All right, looks good.
I vegged out all day.
But you don't mean veg.
No. No, I don't
Regular
touch some
burger.
nasty thing. No, it's been raining and nasty all day. I was going to do some rides around the country, visit some memorial sites, and I just got rained out of everything today. We've gotten about 4.5 inches since last night, so didn't do much of nothing but do a bunch of Bible study and watch a bunch of YouTube and let's see, what did I eat? So I fixed some of that carnivore bread last night, so I had me a couple of carnivore sandwiches, venison backstrap and venison bread. And that's about all I've had. And things are heavy and dense. Two of them sandwiches will fill you up.
I would
I'm
imagine
gonna try
so. I'll mute my phone here. You're going to listen to that all day. All right. Very good. And Scott, welcome back.
Hey, thank you.
Good to see you. How's your week been?
I can't complain. Started off really good last Monday, and pretty good all week. Worked a lot. We're a little bit short at the plant, so we're doubling up shifts here and there. But other than that, good week.
Mm-hmm. All right. And how about you, Meathead?
Well, it's I got for myself, I considered quite a bit accomplished because today I got my foldable computer desk torn down, got my wife's old desk, brought it upstairs, got everything situated in my office and getting everything cleaned up, and then been helping her out with different odds and ends, and just now settling down and in time for the Carnivore Talk.
Very good.
Oh,
so,
I lost 3 pounds overnight, everybody. So I'm down to 327.
Nice.
227.
I'm sorry. Yeah. 227. 227.
I'm
Yeah,
glad
my
I
bad.
ain't the only one that does that.
Yeah, usually it's like Jeff when he's 68 and he'll tell us he's 78. All right. Okay, well, very good. That's an awesome milestone to reach. And so that's good news. Glad to hear it. So I've had I uncovered my pool today. Nobody's home, so I was working on actually my next YouTube video that's going to be actually recording and edited. I've been working on that, and then I was actually working on it like a week ago, but as all of you know, since you're in the carnivoretalk.com community, Tuesday I had a tiled shower ceiling fall on my head. And so I had a big scrape on my head, and I've got this, it broke my glasses, which I don't think you can see on the camera, and then I really gashed in between my nose here. So it looked worse 5 days ago. But that kind of took the oomph out of me. I wasn't so excited to record anything with my face all messed up like that. So that's been my week. Good to hear. Good to see everybody's doing good. And we're going to continue our discussion of what happens to your body on a meat-only carnivore diet. And that's based on this article we were going through last week. And we only made it halfway through. So we're going to continue this discussion, and let's go ahead and bring that up on the screen, and we'll go ahead and get started. Actually, before we do, we see Terry has joined us in the chat, and so welcome, Terry. Let me bring one of your comments up here. Okay, that carnivore bread looked good in the picture, and it did. It looked like legit bread there, Geoff. And we lost Geoff.
Uh-oh.
Yep, he'll be back.
Probably that storm. Yeah, well, they've been getting crappy weather all day.
Yeah. And then how many eggs did you use in the bread? Under $3, just a dozen today at Walmart. That's good. All right, so we'll bring that back up when Geoff reconnects. So we'll go back over here to our article. Hello. Before we do that, we have another Kitchen Witch 1885 from Pennsylvania. Hello there. I'm in Ohio, so you're just one state over.
Pennsylvania is beautiful.
Board. Glad to have you here tonight. And let's see here. That's not the one I want. And there's Geoff. He's in the chat. He might have lost connection when he went to the chat. There we go. That's the view that I want. All right. So let's talk about number 8. Your gut microbiome transforms completely. The bacterial party in your intestines gets a total guest list overhaul. Without fiber, many beneficial bacteria starve out. New bacterial species that specialize in breaking down animal products take over. This dramatic shift might help explain both positive effects, like reduced bloating for some, and concerning ones, potential long-term impacts on immune function and disease risk. So, my comments on this are, I don't worry about it. So, did the gut microbiome transform completely? There were some changes, and I've heard that this is the case, that certain bacteria that live on the plants do die off, and the ones that are good at breaking down animal protein, they become more populous. Then I've also read other studies that say that actually your gut microbiome doesn't really change that much. And I do say that there is certainly some reduced bloating. One of the things that I enjoy about the carnivore diet is almost zero gas 99% of the time. And I think that's a blessing as far as I'm concerned. And then it says potential long-term impacts on the immune system and disease risk. And I don't even know what they're talking about when it comes to that statement there. I can't think of any impact on the immune system or any disease risk that comes from a carnivore diet or from missing certain bacteria, maybe or maybe not. Any opinions on this number 8 here with two of you?
Yeah, the only thing, I mean, I've read. Go ahead, me there.
No, I'm good, Scott. I'm listening.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, I've read where a lot of your immune system with me is based on your gut, how you digest food, but it's more so about leaky gut more so than it is the biome. You know, that extra food that kind of passes through undigested. And it's, you know, we just weren't designed to break all that plant matter down. And we do such a much better job with the meat and the fat versus, you know, the vegetables and the carbs and the sugars. So it's that little fine line where the biome is affected. But what I've read, and I'm, again, you know, I think we lead off, I'm not a doctor, but yeah, just what I've read is that it's more so what leaves your gut than the biome as far as your immune system and inflammation and issues from radical diets. You know, we're still on the radical diet.
Yeah. Did you have anything to add, Meathead?
Well, I was just going to say, is where it concerns immunity, it affects your immune system. I don't think I ever had a problem of, you know, leaky gut, but it's when it came to getting sick, I was always least likely to get sick between my wife and I. But when I did get sick, I didn't just get a cold and it was over in a couple weeks. I got sick and I'm down for the count. This last time after I started work here in February, somebody came in, passed around COVID. Of course, I'm not taking any shots of any kind and any medications other than blood pressure. And I brought it home to her. I was down for, I think, 3 days with a stuffy nose and ear blockage. That's it. And she was down for a couple of weeks with a severe cough.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I can attest that my immune system has gotten a lot better.
And yeah, mine too. So it hasn't had any negative impacts, that's for sure. It has had long-term impacts on my immune function, and the fact that it has gotten better since I've been on a carnivore diet, and I'm 2 years in now. The frequency with which I catch a cold or get sick or something is much more rare than it used to be. And like you know, I probably had a stronger immune system than my wife overall. You know, my wife and kids, they get sick much more frequently than I would. But it's very noticeable that I get ill less and less now as time goes on. Now that I'm healthier, having 2 years of eating a nutrient-dense carnivore diet and nourishing my body, as well as you know, losing the weight, you know, and getting healthier overall, you know. So a lot changes in 2 years, and it's been for the better for certainty. All right. Well, Geoff, come back to us.
Sorry.
That's all right. Let's go over to some comments here. So he was okay. So Geoff gave the ingredients on the eggs or the carnivore bread, and he's posted a beautiful picture of that over in Carnivore Talk, and you can come over there, and I'm sure he'll show the recipe in detail as well, because we have a recipe section, and Geoff pretty much dominates that section too. And then good to see prices are going back to normal on your side of the pond, says Lambs. Welcome to our discussion tonight, Lambs. It's a pleasure to have you. And yeah, that is good. Under $3 a dozen, because I still think at my local Sam's Club, I'm getting pasture raised eggs, and they're right now $4.15 a dozen.
Yeah.
And which still isn't bad. I mean, they used to be $3.89, like, you know, for as long as I can remember, and they only went up a little bit. And I don't know how much the conventional eggs are. They've got Eggland's Best, and those are kind of overpriced. And then they got probably their Members Mark. That's their store brand eggs, are probably a little cheaper, but I don't think it's much. So I always go for the pasture raised ones.
I always find the cage-free are more expensive than the pasture raised, and something that Bobby, I can't remember his last name. He's got his own channel, but he goes to Sam's Club and he points out different things about healthy foods and whatnot. But
Does he call them Bobby approved?
yeah,
I know who you're
Yep.
talking about. I can't think of his last name either.
but anyways, he pointed out that cage free, range free, or range whatever, free range, it's just a marketing gimmick. That's it. If it says pasture raised, they have to be pasture raised. And those are the best. So that's like that's the only place I buy my eggs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen other videos where like the cage-free eggs, that they can actually put something in their feed that will give it that darker yolk to make you think you're getting a more nutritional egg. And but I don't worry too much about that. I mean, there's all eggs are good, just certain eggs are better.
Right.
So
his name is Bobby Parrish, is what Terry Coleman said. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that is correct. It is Bobby Parrish. Thank you, Terry. And then Terry also said, my digestion is near perfect on carnivore. Rear exhaust is rarely an issue anymore. Now, if you eat Brussels sprouts, look out. And yeah, that's same here. Like, as long as I'm being true to carnivore, everything's great. And yeah, if I decide to bring in some plant matter, which I do from time to time, then yeah, it could become a gaseous mess real quick. So my body's certainly not used to it.
I have something to bring up. It's sort of funny on that note of vegetable. I have introduced certain things back into my life, into my diet, and some of them are like some spices. As long as they're clean, there's no sugar, I use it on occasion. And my downfall is dark chocolate, which is anything 72% and above, I love. So I dabble in that now and then. But I figured Chomps was a good choice for beef sticks. And I was super hungry the other day. I wanted to cheat a little bit. So I figured I'd grab a couple of beef sticks. Well, I grabbed the jalapeno ones because I like jalapeno. I like spicy.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it. This is no joke. I had downed one stick by the time we left the store and before we left the parking lot on our 10 minutes from our friends. By the time we got to our friends, I had to run in and use their bathroom. That's how quick trust me, I've been eating the same eggs and bacon for weeks. I know it's not the eggs and bacon.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't cheated. It was that beef stick with jalapeno in it. I can't do it.
Interesting. Yeah, I will have beef jerky and jalapeno flavored ones from time to time, and I do okay with it. So, but again, that's one of those, like, where we're all different. You reintroduce something that you think is going to be pretty benign, and after being on carnivore for a while, you find out that, hey, it turns out my body doesn't like this after all. Yep. And that's actually, a good, that's where the carnivore diet works as an elimination diet. That's kind of why it's a useful tool. And because you can be clean for so long and slowly introduce things back and see what it is you're sensitive to, what it is that may have been causing you your problems that you just never noticed before because you were eating that and all kinds of other stuff all the time. All right, Jeff's back. Let's bring him back to the stage.
Yeah, we got our Wi-Fi knocked out. I didn't know if you could hear the thunder boomers in the background.
Earlier,
but,
I did.
Yeah, apparently, so we have to get our Wi-Fi off of towers, off of a dish, and it was out this morning from the storms, and apparently it just got knocked out again. So no telling how long it'll be out. So I had to go get the wife and my mother-in-law set up with the DVR because they can't figure that out. So they'll have something to watch.
Okay.
So what I missed?
Right. Oh, so we just started with number 8, and we were talking about the gut microbiome. Oh, figure out. There we go. to turn off the buttons I don't use, so I stopped playing that juggling the game. We were talking about the gut microbiome supposedly changes. That's debatable. The bacteria that thrives on plants dies off. The bacteria that thrives on animal products flourishes, and that results in, according to this article, positive and negative effects. Positive being reduced bloating and gas, negative being a long-term impact on your immune function and disease risk, which had the rest of us kind of scratching our heads. What disease risk? What immune issues? What do you think here about your gut microbiome?
Well, I think in the beginning it goes through a change. There's no doubt about that. Most of us experience that. But yeah, it doesn't, it changes for the good. You know, it doesn't reduce your immune system. If anything, it strengthens your immune system. Yeah, that's just silly rhetoric. I'd really like to, I got to admit, that's the first time I've heard that one. They like to, there's a lot of things that they like to say that's bad about carnivore, but that ain't one I've ever heard before.
Yeah, I'm going to send give me just a second. Crystal, can you take care of the dog? So my dog's Willow's here. Harassing.
Nice.
Hi.
Hey, baby.
Hi there. Say hi. You got to get down, okay? All right. Okay, let's move on then. All right. Let's what we got over here in the chat. Oh, Carnivore Muscle.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us tonight. And then we're have some conversation going on about vaping and the pros and cons about perhaps giving that up. So that's okay. And we've got what's good, everyone. Had nap number 1 tonight. I'll be off again soon. So we're doing good. We're talked about, since you just joined us, what we got to enjoy meat-wise on this Memorial Day and how our week's been. And we're considering this article here, what a meat-only carnivore diet does to your body. We started this last week, and we only got halfway through, and so we're plugging our way through it again. Glad you could join us. If you would like to join us on the screen, and I'll say this to anybody else who might tune in. So now, because we got a couple dozen viewers according to StreamYard here,
Nice.
you can do that at carnivoretalk.com. You can register there and get the link for free. There's one private members only area. You have to be registered to see it. You can click the link and come on here because we can have 10 people on screen enjoying this discussion. And then, or you can also become a member of the channel if you want to, but you don't have to. And those are ways you get the link. And we just do it that way because we don't want just any random individual coming in here and causing us some trouble. So this is the way we're going to do it for now, and until that doesn't work, and then we'll revisit it. So that's how you join us. So if you're interested and you've got a webcam and a microphone and the courage to join us on screen, by all means, go ahead. And we'd love to have you. Let's move on to number 9. So this is always an interesting topic, especially with those who are critical of our way of eating. Scurvy becomes a real possibility, according to this article. Ahoy, matey. Just like sailors of old, you might face vitamin C deficiency on a strict carnivore diet. Fresh meat contains some vitamin C, but cooking destroys much of it. Without fruits and vegetables, your body's collagen production suffers. Warning signs include bleeding gums, poor wound healing, and fatigue. Well, I got a lot to say that's in disagreement with this, but I'll let someone else go first this time since I went first last time. Who would like to start us off and tell us about your scurvy problem?
My scurvy problem is, let's see, my receding gums are no longer receding. They've improved. My bleeding gums are no longer bleeding. That's a fallacy. Lack of energy. I bounce off the walls. So again, whoever comes up with this, drums this nonsense up, they need to rethink and find something better to talk about, and shows, basically show evidence, because the evidence is out there. Carnivores have exuberant energy, exuberant stamina, and the clouded mind is gone. So the only thing I've seen is just the opposite with other diets. Carnivore, no. And this, believe it or not, this is through my life. This is the only diet I've ever attempted. And it's not really a diet to me, it's a lifestyle. So I changed my lifestyle from the standard American to carnivore. It works for me. It's improved my health, my life, my physical and mental being. That's all I got to say.
All right. Terry says only pirates get scurvy.
And
All right.
there's a reason why the pirates got scurvy. And it had nothing to do with the fact that they weren't getting vitamin C from oranges and limes and whatnot. Hence why we call the English limeys, or used to. It was because they weren't getting fresh meat. It had nothing to do with the vegetable or with the fruits. I mean, the fruits helped them. Yeah, they got them over it. But how come it was the swabbies that got the scurvy, but the officers didn't? It wasn't because the officers had free access to oranges and limes. It's because they had meat, fresh meat, whereas the swabbies didn't. That was the whole reason why the whole scurvy thing came up among sailors. Now, the thing with vitamin C is when we are metabolically healthy, we just don't need as much vitamin C as what somebody who is on the standard American diet is on. Because somebody on the standard American diet, what are they eating constantly? Carbs. What are carbs? Carbs is sugar. All carbs turn into sugar. Well, the problem with vitamin C and sugar is glucose competes with vitamin C for transportation. And so vitamin C gets put to the side. So in order for somebody who is not metabolically healthy, they have to boost their vitamin C level much higher to get any benefit from it to help their immune systems. Whereas us, we don't have that issue simply because we don't have any glucose, or we don't have as much glucose. We do have, 4 grams at any one time naturally, but our glucose isn't competing with our vitamin C. So what little bit we get from meat, which is 2 pounds of meat's about, I don't know, 25 milligrams or something like that, which is well below the RDA value. Of course, that's all made up anyways. So we just don't need it. And, there is no proof that eating only meat causes scurvy, and we are the proof that it doesn't cause scurvy. Like Meathead said. Okay, so you and me, Bob, we're both 2 years in. I don't eat any fruit. I haven't touched a bit of fruit or vegetable. Well, no, that's a lie, except a jalapeno once in a while. And I guarantee I'm not eating enough jalapenos to be getting enough vitamin C to ward off the common cold. So, we can't really count that. But you've got hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of carnivores around the world. And not one single case of scurvy has ever been reported. So, yeah, that one you can go pound sand with. It ain't worth the paper it's written on.
Right. So that headline about scurvy becoming a real possibility, what are they talking about? because there are now thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands, and probably more, that I'm aware of that are doing a carnivore diet these days, and not one reported case of scurvy.
No.
I've only heard one, and it was some celebrity claims to have gotten it. But then, it's such an oddball story that I'm not even sure about the veracity of that story, whether it's even true or not. So, there is vitamin C in meat. You won't find that admitted or acknowledged almost anywhere on no nutritional information, not even on Chronometer, which is an app that everybody seems to love. That information is missing there, but there is vitamin C in meat, just a little bit of it. And yeah, just like you said, the uptake receptor that would absorb the vitamin C is the same receptor that takes in the glucose. And so if you're overwhelmed with glucose, it's not going to uptake the vitamin C, and you pass a lot of that along. And so, if you're consuming a carb heavy diet, you probably need to pop vitamin C's and to try and get some of it.
Along that lines, I don't see anything wrong. Let's say you get sick, you get a bad cold, you get, you come down with a virus or something. I see no issue with taking a vitamin C supplement, to help get you over that. But
that's true.
In the general scheme of things, you just don't need to eat anything that contains vitamin C other than meat.
Yeah, if you're concerned about vitamin C, then you can take a supplement. A vitamin C supplement will be just fine. You can consume some organ meats. There's organ meats are higher in vitamin C, and certain organs are higher than other organs in vitamin C. And you know what? If you wanted to squeeze some lemon or lime in your water, I don't see the harm in that either. So that kind of depends on how strict you are choosing to be with your carnivore diet. The article did say the article did say if you're on a strict carnivore diet. So a lot of strict carnivores would avoid a squeeze of lemon or lime, and that's okay. They fare just as well, even without the vitamin C's. But if you're worried about it,
I'll be right back, guys.
It's gonna hurt you. Okay.
Well, generally the strict carnivores, they're strict because they know and understand the nutritional aspect of the carnivore diet, and they're comfortable with it. So they don't feel the need to do any supplementation or squeeze any lime or lemon in their water. They're totally comfortable with it. The ones that feel like they need to do that, they're just a little unsure, and that's fine. If that's what gets them over the hump, and keeps them, 98% carnivore, so be it. Fine, have at it if that's what you need.
Yeah.
But they just need to know that they don't have to do that if they don't want to.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm pretty strict. I haven't had a vegetable or fruit or anything in a little over a year since I started. I just went in head first. And then the more I read, that was one of the things I read early on, supplementation and, hey, what are you missing out on by going carnivore? And one of the things that I read and learned was that, the reason you need to take an antioxidant is because you've already eaten the oxidants. So if you stop eating the oxidants, then you don't need the antioxidants. So that's where the vitamin C, you're not putting all that sugar and carb in your system, and you don't really need the vitamin C. And then you can move forward like that. And like I said, if you want to take one here and there, most of them are water soluble anyway, and they're going to pass right on through. And they just give you the warm fuzzies mentally more than they do anything physically. But yeah, once you eat clean and you're not putting that so-called garbage in, you don't need them. From what I read, like I said, kind of flat number 8. We went over this with my neurologist last week. I've had 0 infections, 0 virals, 0 colds, 0 anything since I started in May of last year. First year in 6 years where I wasn't catching everything that came down the path. So, I have to attribute 99% of that to carnivore.
Yeah, metabolically healthy. You're getting there.
And the we're going back here. The last comment there about without fruits and vegetables, your body's collagen production suffers. You consume collagen when you eat meat.
Yeah, that one I don't get. Where are they coming from with that? Now,
I have no idea.
if you don't eat the gristle, you don't eat the fat, you don't eat the cartilage off the chicken. Okay, yeah, maybe, but no. You're getting all you need from the
Right.
meat. That's an absurd statement.
It is an absurd statement. And then the last sentence there about warning signs about bleeding gums, poor wound healing, and fatigue. Those are symptoms of scurvy if you were actually going to get scurvy. But
Right.
just like Meathead said, well, my bleeding gums and my poor wound healing and my fatigue, those were all problems I had when I was on the standard American diet. All those issues are gone. They're cured thanks to my carnivore diet. So,
And we hear that from thousands of carnivores daily, where they talk about that one of the first benefits they notice is, besides they stop snoring and their sleep apnea goes away and they're sleeping better, is their gums aren't bleeding anymore. So if anything, they may have already had scurvy and they're just now reversing it with carnivore.
yeah, that
Could be true.
All right. We'll go ahead and move on to number 10 here. And this one says, mental clarity can sharpen dramatically. So this is a positive one. Brain fog lifts for many carnivore converts. Without blood sugar spikes and crashes, mental focus improves noticeably. Ketones provide steady brain fuel without the insulin roller coaster. Many adherents report improved concentration, sharper thinking, and reduced anxiety. And I'll tell you what, I love point number 10. I think I'm all on board with this one.
Yeah, they got that. They finally got one right.
Yeah. Now that's
Yeah,
true.
I agree with it. And I've read that. It's one of the things I don't know that I've totally experienced it. Maybe I have. And I think me and Meathead, we discussed it on last week. I guess when I wake up, I'm mentally clear from the get-go. Like it's none of the getting up, dragging along, 10 minutes, got to have coffee, got to have this. When I'm awake, I'm awake. And if that's similar to this, but as far as the day-to-day, not sure. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I don't know. But as far as the biggest change for me, probably in this area, is when I wake up. I mean, like I said, it's like eyes open, feet hit the floor, the day starts. And sometimes that's 3:30 in the morning. Sometimes that's 4 o'clock in the morning. Seldom does it make it till 5, but sometimes it does. But yeah, I'm like this morning, I was out the door at 5 going to the gym. And like I said, so it's part of it. And maybe it's coming. I don't know, but I haven't totally experienced it other than the wake up part.
Yeah. Welcome back, Meathead.
Hey, thank you.
We're talking about mental clarity on the carnivore diet. What have you noticed?
Yeah. I'm still crazy.
You said clarity, not crazy.
Yeah. Well, again, it's going to come out in my interview, but my wife can attest that since I've started, my memory has gotten a lot better. And I do have to say that the third day of carnivore, I broke down and cried in the garage where I sit and have my coffee and vape. I go out there and open the garage door. I see my neighbors' cars. I've been seeing the plates, and they were always blurry. And the third day of carnivore, I opened the garage door up, and they were just like right there, smacking me in the face. I could read them plain as day. No glasses. My vision wasn't fuzzy. And I'm like, wow. And then all of a sudden, my mind just started flooding with all these thoughts. It just like everything became so clear. And I broke down and cried. I couldn't believe it.
All right. Yeah, I used to personally suffer from brain fog in the sense that, like, I would be at work. Now I'm in construction. I can remember, okay, I need to go get this from my trailer, or I need to go make a cut this particular size. I measured it with the tape measure, and I'd go out to the trailer, I'd go out to the saw, and then I'd be like, why did I come out here? Like, and that would happen all the time. And I'd go back into the room where I was working. Oh yeah, this is what I was doing. And that started to become annoying because that was happening all the time. And I even had this issue. I call it narcolepsy. It was never officially diagnosed as narcolepsy, but I had this issue where on my way home from work, I would have to stop at some point into a parking lot and take a nap because or else I would fall asleep behind the wheel on my way home. And I slept decently throughout the night. But for some reason at 3, 4, 5 in the evening, I just cannot keep my eyes open. And I even, was in stuck traffic one time where I couldn't make it to a parking lot, dozed off, took the foot off the brake, rolled into the car in front of me and had a little fender bender. Those issues don't happen anymore now that I've been on this carnivore diet health journey. So yeah, my brain fog and my concentration, my thinking, and the issue of falling asleep at random, those issues are gone, and I couldn't be more thankful for it. So it's one of the reasons why this is a lifestyle that I'm just going to stick to forever. I can't give this up because I can't ever imagine going back to the issues that I had and how miserable I used to feel. It would be impossible for me. All right. So let's go over to the chat here. So, by the way, I see we got some likes from Facebook, and tonight we're streaming to Twitter for the first time also. And it doesn't, fortunately, it doesn't show me any Twitter viewers in here. It's this issue where if you make a comment on Twitter, it will show up here, and we can bring it up on screen and comment on it, but we can't actually type and comment back because they don't accept the incoming comments from StreamYard. And if you would like to chat and be on the screen, you can get the link over at carnivoretalk.com, and there's room for 10 of us up here, and we'd love to have you and hear your carnivore story as well. All right, so we have number 10 is 100% correct. And yes, I completely agree with that. And going back here, we have breathing fresh air is the best way to go. We were talking about vaping. I've heard vaping is better than smoking, but yes, fresh air would certainly be, the best of the best. And Rick, welcome. Rick's in the shower, listening while he showers. All right, awesome.
Yeah, glad there's no visual there.
Well, get done what you need to get done with Scrub-a-Dub-Dub, and when you're dry and you can join us on the chat, come by and say hi. We'd love to talk to you. I thought someone messed up my computer display settings. It went from HD to 4K to my eyes. So are you talking about visual improvement on carnivore? That's what that sounds like to me. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. I've had it's interesting that you bring that up. Provided you're talking about visual improvement, because I've had that too, in the sense that I used to get blurred vision, especially in the evening, and from what I understand, that's actually a sign of diabetes or pre-diabetes. Is you can get blurred vision at random, like when your blood sugar runs high. And I don't get those blurred vision problems anymore. All right. Okay. And Rick is the one who told me about you guys. Yes, I was listening on Saturday morning to Rick's live stream. He has a starts at 8 o'clock and it goes on like all day long. and and so it's very good to have on and listen to when and we got stuff to do. I was actually listening while I took my dog to the vet on Saturday, and he made some very nice comments about Carnivore Talk and what we do here on Monday nights, and I really appreciate that, Rick. And we really appreciate what you do on Saturday mornings too. And maybe one of these Saturdays I'll call in. All right. Just like maybe one of these days, maybe you'll pop up on my screen here, you know? So, all right. Yes, visual improvement. It is for sure. All right. Okay. So let's bring our article back up and let's go on to number 11, see if they keep this positive streak going. Your wallet gets significantly lighter. Financial hemorrhage warning.
Yep.
Quality meat costs serious cash, especially if you're choosing grass-fed and organic options. Expect your grocery bill to balloon as you replace inexpensive staples like rice and beans with pricey steaks and roasts. Many carnivore dieters report spending double or triple their previous food budget. Well,
Yes and no.
me,
Yes,
for
and no.
me, they just took another dive in the wrong direction here, and I'll talk about that why first. But who would like to comment on their wallet?
I'll
Go for it.
Yeah,
Go.
I'll go with the yes and no. The yes, meat is expensive. I mean, meat, if you go grass fed, yes, it is more expensive than others. You go to prime cuts, more expensive. That's a no doubter. As far as what I spend at the grocery store is now less than it was before, because we had this same post on the board a few weeks ago. When I go in the grocery store, I'm cruising straight to the meat aisle. I hang around by the meat aisle. I go up and get the toilet paper, swing down by the hygiene, grab that butter, and, I'm out the door. And whereas, when you don't make the trip up and down the sauces and the can aisle and the dried aisle, and you don't have to go every aisle. When I come out of there, did I spend more money on meat? Probably. But at the same time, the total bill was less. And then if I went really down and pinched the pennies, I don't feel like I'm eating as much as I did before. So, my wife and I are basically eating the same meats we would have eaten anyway. The only thing we're doing is reducing the amount of all the other stuff that I don't eat anymore. So the total bill has to come down. I mean, it's kind of basic math. That's for me.
Yep.
I don't know about everybody else.
Well, I do all my shopping for my meats. I'd like to buy a half a cow, but I don't have the money for that. So I go to Costco because Costco has business Costco. I'll clarify, business Costco. If you have one near you, I spent, I think it was just under $300 on New York strip loin, a box of them for 36. It was like 36 pounds, cost $7.29 a pound. The steaks I cut are in between 12 and 14 ounces, some of them 18 ounces. But the point being, I only eat one a day. I got like 36 of them, almost. And if I'm only eating one a day, that's $7.29 a day. And you're talking that's still under $300 a month for anybody, one person to eat. Because I do OMAD. I don't think I'm as active physically as, like, say, Rick, Charger Mopar, or even Bob. I'm sure Bob's more active than me physically. But it's just the point that I do OMAD, 8 eggs a day with half a pound of bacon, and I get about 7,000 steps in a day. So definitely not that comment with the article. It's exorbitant. No. You can buy New York strip for $7.29 a pound at Business Costco. You can buy ribeye for $9.90 a pound, $9.99 a pound at Costco Business, and it's all grass fed.
I need to get me a Costco business membership. I go to Sam's, but I'm still not getting the savings you are.
Well,
So,
if you
Yeah,
have a
we
Costco business near you,
I have a Costco near me. I don't
okay,
know
it's this is Costco Business is completely different.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
they're more on the commercial end, but that's where if you just go online and look up Costco Business
Mhm.
and go to the website, you can look up halal beef,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll see the prices. It'll shock you. It's cheaper. It's cheaper than a regular grain-fed beef.
Nice.
Well, the thing
And
thing is that they don't mention in this article, they're not looking at it from the family aspect. If you are buying the same thing that you've always bought and adding meat to it, yes, you're going to be exorbitantly high. But the thing is, if the whole family, and this is why I say it's yes and no, if the whole family is eating carnivore, your grocery bill is going to be less because you're not buying the junk. You're not buying the cereals and the breads and all that kind of stuff and the soda waters and everything. You're just buying the meats. And so the fact that you're not buying the junk offsets the higher cost of the meat. Now, if you have a family of 4 and you're the only one eating carnivore, yeah, your bill's going to be higher because you're still going to be buying the same junk as you were buying for everybody else, but now you're adding the cost of extra meat. So there's no doubt your bill will be higher. Sorry, that's just the way it is. But as Meathead is talking, there are cheaper ways to eat. You know, we always talk about our favorite being ribeye. You know, we always talk ribeye. Well, ribeyes are one of the more expensive meats. Even if you buy a whole rib roast and cut your own ribeyes, you're still going to be spending more than you would if you were just buying hamburger. But a lot of people get by on carnivore. In fact, the majority of people I talk to get by on the carnivore just eating hamburger, you know, and eggs and bacon, and you can eat pretty cheap on that. That doesn't drive your cost up a whole bunch, you know. Now me, I cheat. I buy very little meat at the stores because I raise my own beef. I raise my own sheep. The only thing I buy at the store is pork and chicken once in a while because I don't butcher my chickens because they're giving me eggs. Well, I don't butcher my chickens unless they quit producing. So you know, so I cheat in that regard. So you know, but I'm gonna tell you, I spend a lot of money raising my animals too. It's not cheap, you know, for
Yeah, I would
me.
say that if you do the math all the way around, especially, I don't know where you guys are getting rain. You know, you go a summer without rain, and your hay prices start going up, your feed prices start going up.
Oh
You know,
yeah, yeah.
you're lucky
We're
to break even.
yeah.
But on the
We
other hand, Jeffrey, on the other hand, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you got to
that's
stop
fine.
and think. It might be a little more expensive when say you're raising your own, but you know what they're eating, and
Oh yeah.
you want to keep your health, so you're going to feed them better stuff. And
Hmm.
in the whole bigger picture, you're going to be spending less on what they call health care.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh
So
yeah,
it bigger savings.
yeah. There's no doubt. You know, my beef are healthier. My sheep are healthier. All my animals that I raise are healthier. I very seldom ever have to doctor them, and you can look behind me and you can see this is what they eat. Mine are all grass fed, grass finished, grass raised. But you know, it still goes back to if everybody in your household will go carnivore, then your grocery bill will be cheaper because you're not buying all that junk. And just on a side note, and you're not buying near as much toilet paper either. Just saying.
this is true.
No, that's true. Yeah, not as much toilet paper. Also, things that you would get before, I had a cupboard full of every spice under the sun. Marinades. We used to buy marinades and dressings and salads and wing sauces, and then there was the snacks you needed in between meals. So there was always a bag of Doritos or some hot Cheetos or some sort of crackers, and then of course all the vegetables might go along with your meat. So yeah, I don't buy any of those things anymore. And where I have some significant savings is me and my family, we used to have this problem, this bad habit of dining out all the time. We might cook a meal at home one night or two a week, but we were always going out to eat. And so that food is, high calorie, high sugar, high everything, high salt, high sugar. I mean, it's because they make it so palatable. And that was bad for me because, not only is that food not necessarily the healthiest. Of course, back then I wasn't making healthy choices at these restaurants either. But since it was so expensive, if the wife or the kids didn't finish their food, then you better pass that over here. I'm going to finish it off because I paid for that.
Yep.
And that's probably what really contributed to my weight gain in recent years, prior to leading up to my carnivore diet. So when you stop eating out and you also stop eating all the snacks and the excess stuff that you don't need on a carnivore diet, yes, my food expenses has gone down considerably, not just my grocery expense, but since I was dining out, I'm saving something crazy. In fact, this actually started with the pandemic, because if you remember at the beginning of the pandemic, they shut down all the restaurants. You couldn't dine out anymore, and so then we started cooking at home, and I actually lost a lot of weight because every meal for months was a home cooked meal, and because we couldn't go out to eat anymore. And I know a lot of people had the opposite effect. They got fatter because they couldn't they didn't go out and do anything anymore. But we actually were getting better at the beginning because we had cut out dining out. And again, for us, dining out was excessive. We were definitely not frugal, and we were wasting money all the time on eating out. So yeah, I save a lot of money. And even if I didn't dine out, and we were just looking at just a grocery bill, I'm positive I would be saving money as well.
Well, and I'll add two more points to that. Your dining out brought up something in my head was that as carnivores, we don't eat as much. Whereas before we was eating 3 meals a day and snacking in between every single meal, we was constantly consuming something. Now, the majority of us only eat twice a day, and a lot of us only eat once a day. And so we're not eating nearly as often, and most of us don't snack. So we're not constantly consuming food because the meat and the fats satiate us, and we lose the desire to eat all the time. And then when you look at the price of the highly processed foods versus meat, highly processed foods per ounce cost a whole lot more than meat does. And they don't satisfy you. They don't fill you up. You can sit there and eat a whole box of cereal and not get filled up, but you eat your 16-ounce ribeye and you're full. Now compare the price of those two, and they're about the same. The cereal, to get as much cereal in you to fill you up is what, or crackers or whatever, is what that 16-ounce ribeye would. It's going to cost more.
Yeah, I think I saw that one time, like a bulk, like the cost of Cheerios per ounce compared to a hamburger. It was actually more expensive to eat the Cheerios than it was a hamburger.
It is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is true. That was some of the math. I remember it was a night shift. I read that article somewhere, so here I am with the calculator going, really? Half a night at work, at the desk, and one of the things. So I sat down, and where I know for a fact, for me personally, it's way cheap. Carnivore was way cheaper. Is because I was a guy that worked at the plant, hour away. Great convenience store, country store, halfway to work. Best bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit in the world on a big fat bun. I'd hit 2 of those in the morning with 2 snack cakes, 20-ounce Mountain Dew, and then get to work. And I probably hit the drink machine 3, 4, 5 times during the shift. And then I'd eat my lunch, whatever I bought at that convenience store. And then it was a Bojangles in between. And so I just did the 14 days a month that I'm scheduled to work. And it was $425 a month that was totally separate from my grocery bill. That was not like going to the grocery store. So if you do the math all the way around, I get to start with negative $425 and then start buying meat. So carnivore is definitely cheaper, only eating once a day. Not going, I'm a Mountain Dew guy. I mean, I was drinking 6 or 8 a day, and now I'm not drinking any. And so, yeah, I start my month. If we're going to go budget, I'm $425 to the good before we even go to the grocery store. So I know it's cheaper.
That'll buy a whole lot of good meat, won't it?
Yes, sir. It does. It really does.
All right, some relevant comments coming up on this topic before we move on. So Lamb says it was Rick who got him in there also. Him or her. I'm sorry if I misspoke there, but yes. Thank you. We love Rick. We're glad that he says such kind things about us, and we all plan on going down there and having some iguana.
Oh yeah,
as soon
I will.
as the opportunity permits. So we're gonna have a big iguana
I'll kill him.
feast
You grill him
over at Rick's. Yeah. All right. Danny C says that's BS. I spend so much less on carnivore than the standard American diet. And yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's just, I don't know where this article comes up with some of this stuff. So Terry says we spend a third less on our food on carnivore. I have credit card records that prove that, and that is not accounting for food inflation the last few years. So the savings are even greater than 1/3. And then, of course, I put everything on a rewards card too, so I can earn Sam's cash, so that makes it even cheaper. Kitchen Witch says beef, butter, bacon, and eggs is easy. Yep. So that's my mantra. That's the phrase that got me started. Beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. I would argue that ground beef, reasonably cheap, is the best stuff you can eat, as it has the cartilage and some fat. And some ground beef, they even will throw in the organ meats too, and mix that up in there as well. And so you can actually buy that at the store, hamburger with organs included, and you can't even tell that they're in there. So if you want to eat some organs but you're too squeamish, you can get that ground beef with the organs in it, make yourself a hamburger patty, and get the nutrition that way. Danny says, I eat OMAD compared to 6 MAD. And no veg, no fruit, no snacks. It's probably a quarter of what it used to be. If you buy chuck roasts, ground beef, shop meat sales, et cetera, et cetera. That's right.
Yep.
Chuck roast isn't something that I do often. My wife will make a roast once in a while. But I've seen a lot of carnivores lately on YouTube talking about, buying a roast and throwing it in the crock pot and letting that thing
I love a good roast
cook all day long. And that's kind of becoming their favorite staple, So
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna give y'all a clue. If you really want to bump up that chuck roast, if you got a smoker, smoke it first. Smoke it for several hours, then put it in the crock pot and slow cook it with a little bit of broth. I'm gonna tell you what, takes it to a whole new level.
Game changer.
That is very true.
I put bay leaves in mine.
That's all right.
I know.
Bay leaves. That's just flavoring. We'll forgive you.
But I what I do is I put mine in the crock pot and I leave it there until it's completely rendered. Then I take the broth and I put it in my silicone molds and I freeze it. So I got beef broth for later. That's all I save it for.
Terry says Fritos. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Finish your thought. Go ahead.
I can eat 2 pounds of roast beef. The last time I cooked it, I had like 2.5 pounds of roast beef that I cooked, and I just one sitting I pounded it. That's how good it is.
Sometimes I can put away almost 2 pounds. I haven't tried to, but I don't do OMAD either. So maybe if I did OMAD, I could try and push that, and but yeah, I usually get to about between 24 and 28 ounces, and that's usually enough for me.
The most I've done is like, not with roast, but like 10 eggs and 1 pound of bacon.
Mm-hmm.
Done it all at once.
All right. In fact, I did better, and I was losing more weight when I would have I'm eating 3 meals a day right now because I intentionally stopped my weight loss for medical reasons, but I want to get it back. But when I was losing weight, it was basically too mad. It was 2 big meals a day and no snacks. And that did it for me. The intermittent fasting and the 2 big meals. Terry says, Fritos, Doritos, and Mountain Dew cost big bucks. That is true.
Yes, they
you
do.
saw it. I do drink that. I make it myself here at the house. And you can make a caffeine-free version of your own if you got a soda maker. All right. The local restaurant really misses us. Yeah. We have a local Mexican restaurant called Los Girasoles, and we have this VIP. They gave us this VIP thing to show and get 10% off every time we come in because we went there all the time. And so that was their way of rewarding us as a customer, was they gave us this 10% VIP thing. We can get, every time we go there, we can get 10% off. And they don't give those to everybody, but we don't go there all the time anymore, and I'm sure they miss us. Every once in a while now, I'll go to a steakhouse, a seafood boil restaurant, and occasionally an Applebee's. But I'm eating out once every 2 weeks now, if that. So the cereals fill you up, but there's no nutrients. Spot on. Absolutely. And yeah, it fills you up for a minute. So I could eat a box of Cheerios, and 90 minutes later, I'm looking for something else to eat because I'm hungry again. That is because it is an empty food source. 1 whole blooming onion at a local Texas Roadhouse is 236 grams of carbs. Yikes. That's because they batter it in some sort of grain and deep fry it in that. But that's atrocious.
And then what are they deep frying it in? Seed oil.
Yep.
So you're not just adding carbs, you're adding the poison from the seed oils.
Yeah. That's something that I minimize. I don't necessarily, go out of my way to make sure places don't use it. And that's only because I rarely go out. So I think the amount that I might be subjected to is actually super trivial. So some people disagree. All right, let's go back to our article here. We covered expense. Okay, well, here we go again. This is scurvy, and this one is kind of where we got our title for tonight. Nutrient deficiencies lurk around the corner. Number 12. Goodbye to many vitamins and minerals. Without plants, you miss crucial nutrients like vitamin E, vitamin K, folate, and magnesium. Organ meats can help replace some losses, but most carnivore dieters stick to muscle meats. Over time, these missing nutrients can lead to serious health problems, including compromised immune function. So here we go again with the immune function.
First thing.
How are you all doing, you nutrient deficient degenerates?
Well, folate is one of the first things they prescribe pregnant women. Am I correct? Or no, that's folic acid. Okay. That's something different? Okay, never mind.
I'll speak. I mean, I just had my immuno numbers done this past Monday, and they are tons better than they were from the standard American diet to carnivore diet. The last 12 months, the first 3 months in, 3-4 months in, they were trending down. One was trending down, one was trending up. in the wrong directions. And 3 to 4 months, they both broke off that trend, and we won't even call it a trend up. It was actually a shift. One went up, the other one came down. This past Monday, when I had my blood work done, one moved back into what is considered the green, the normal for whatever. The other one is just still lurking right there at the edge. So I don't know what I'm missing. I don't think I'm missing anything really, but I definitely know my immune system has been positively affected by carnivore diet versus, and that's a data point. I mean, I can pull the blood, up and look. Not that I just feel better, but actually have a blood work data point to show there is a difference for me between, what I was eating before and what I'm eating now. As far as the nutrients, again, if you eat the garbage, you have to eat something to correct the garbage. If you don't eat the garbage, then you don't need those things in the amounts, of course, the recommended daily amount for whatever that's worth. But if, like I said, if you stop eating the garbage, you don't need things to correct it. And then
Exactly.
everything just kind of works its way out from there. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Kitchen Witch says folate is naturally found in food and folic acid is the supplement. So that's correct. So they're both B9 or a precursor to B9 or something like that. I'd have to go look it up. But yeah, they're basically the same thing. It's one's natural and one's synthetic.
Yeah, well, let's compare people who eat the standard American diet, people who are strict vegans, and people who are carnivore. Which ones take daily vitamins? Which one take a handful of supplements every day to replace missing nutrients? And which ones, about the only thing they take is maybe some minerals. And it's us. We get everything we need for the human body from meat. We don't have to take a handful of vegetables. Or a handful of supplements, to correct any deficiencies. We don't have deficiencies. The person that wrote that article is totally ignorant, knows nothing about nutrition, and they're getting their information from somebody who is probably anti-carnivore.
That's a good point. I love the simplicity of that reasoning. Is you don't see carnivores. You don't see a lot of carnivores. Now, some may supplement this or that, vitamin D if they don't get a lot of sun because they're in the northern climates.
Yeah.
But
and everybody has to do that. I don't care what you're eating. Everybody needs vitamin D3.
Yeah. But
so
there's hundreds of thousands of carnivores who are not taking any supplementation at all, and they are healthy, they're thriving. And then there's those on a vegan diet, who the only reason that their vegan diet works, and a well-crafted vegan diet is doable, but part of that well-crafted involves supplementation of some kind, because you are missing things that you're not going to get from meat. Now,
you need B12.
Speaking of nutrient deficiency.
Oh gosh!
Welcome Rick to the screen.
Hey Rick, good to have you.
If anybody is going to be nutrient deficient, it's Rick, because he's been carnivore for how long again?
Since 1983.
God,
right.
you look so unhealthy too. Oh my goodness!
And do you supplement?
Supplement? Well, I get parking lot chicken, duck, iguana. I guess those are my supplements.
Yeah, right. Plenty of vitamins and all those meats. So, and if you're worried about vitamin deficiency, eat a variety of meats. And the article did kind of hint towards that. Have some beef, have some chicken, have some eggs, have some seafood, have some organ meats. If your carnivore diet is varied, then you're certainly not going to be lacking in any nutrients. Now, if your carnivore diet is the cheese only diet, or your carnivore diet is the all I'm ever going to eat is pork rinds diet, then yes, you might end up with some nutrient deficiencies. But none of us here are really going to acknowledge that as a genuine carnivore diet. Carnivore diet means consuming something that you would have had to hunt and pork rinds isn't that case. So, so if you can do a carnivore diet with, pork rinds, hot dogs, bologna, Spam, Vienna sausages, and canned meats, if that's all you can afford, you can certainly do that. It's much better than the standard American diet, and you will improve your health and lose some weight. And so we're not saying that like that's bad or will make you sick, but if you're just talking about making sure that you have complete nutrition, then yeah, you want to eat a variety of animal products. That's what they're there for.
I agree.
But the thing of it is when, like, if anybody first starting out, and I'm sure the majority of us have been on carnivore for about a year or close to it, so we're aware. If you're first starting out, don't worry about micromanaging every little nutrient. Just eat until you're full. It doesn't matter. Hamburger, cheap hamburger, bacon and eggs. It doesn't matter. Just eat as much as you want whenever you're hungry, and the nutrients will come later. You can worry about that. Just get a blood test and have a benchmark where you're starting at, and go from there.
Now, I will say that if you have some sort of chronic condition, then you might need some supplementation. Okay, so by way of example, I have chronic kidney disease. And so I used to, when I started my carnivore diet, and a lot of people do when they start a carnivore diet, is they have trouble balancing their electrolytes. And so for a while I needed to supplement magnesium, and I could salt to taste, but I couldn't take things like keto chow or LMNT because I can't have potassium, because I don't excrete potassium. It starts to accumulate in my body and my potassium numbers get too high. So some people have to be very careful with electrolytes. Normal kidney function, you usually excrete what you don't need. Your kidneys handle that for you. But in my case, that's not the case. But now, 2 years in, I'm adapted in many ways. I don't have to supplement electrolytes anymore. So, but in the beginning I had to. And some people do. To get the RDA of magnesium, you would need to eat 3 pounds of beef a day. And not that everybody needs to meet that RDA, but if you have an issue, usually that manifests itself in like leg cramps, back in the beginning. And if you don't have that, then you're probably fine, so that might help. But most carnivores in time can actually stop taking electrolytes, after their adaptation period.
I've never had leg cramps in my life.
Oh, good for you, because I've had some atrocious ones. So
I guess because I eat so much. I eat 3 to 6 pounds of meat a day, and I have at least 2 pounds of beef every day. I eat pork, chicken, duck, seafood, iguana, whatever I can get my hands on, and I barely use any salt.
Okay, yeah, you're good. You're meeting your RDA easy. Like I said, I heard it was 3 pounds of beef, 2 to 3 pounds of beef a day, and usually we only cite examples like Sean Baker and Anthony Chafee as the only people we know, that are actually eating that kind of quantities of meat. Most of us, we'll sit down at a meal and eat a pound or maybe even 3/4 of a pound or something like that. So
that's not enough. Walk away hungry.
I shoot for 2 pounds myself.
That's what I do.
You
bring up the you bring up the RDA. Now, it's my understanding, I don't have any proof, but I read up on this, that those RDA numbers, you can't go by them. You have to go by you, because we're all individuals. We all have different needs, but the RDA values were made up. They're an arbitrary number, and so I don't even look at them. I don't pay attention to them. I look at how I feel, what makes my body feel good, and how my body reacts to it. That's the only thing that counts for me.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm just amazed at the amount you guys are eating. I'm like, started off at 306, down to like 211, 212, and it's hard for me to eat a pound of meat at a time.
Really?
You
Oh yeah, I
lightweight.
mean, I mean, it is. I'm like, no wonder it's cheaper for me than it ever is everybody else. I'm like
Hmm.
the amount you guys are saying, and I'm actually eating more now. If I just ate when I was hungry, I mean, honestly, for me, I'm talking 24 hours maybe, but it's more like 30 or 36 before I'm actually hungry, and maybe that's why I've taken the fasting so well. But as far as eating and then I went on this last kick the last 2 to 3 months trying to gain weight or gain muscle, and I've used that number, that 1 gram of protein per pound ideal body weight, and I am struggling to get to 170, 180, 190 grams of protein in a day. I mean, it's a struggle. It's like that. I go ahead and eat that in the evening for that third time, and it's like I don't want to finish this, but and then if I drop down to 2 meals a day, or the weight's just going to continue to fall off, which may be a good thing. I don't know, but like I said, I'm pushing that 100-pound mark now, and you guys are talking about I eat 2 pounds and 3 pounds, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I wish I could.
You got to remember, it's there is not one person on this earth that is smarter than your body. Your body knows what it needs. It knows what its ideal weight is, and it will stop at where it's happy. I mean, look at Jeff. Jeff, he fluctuates. He's all the way down to what, 160?
Yeah.
See, and he goes up to 165, and he's super active. But and how much do you eat? Can you eat?
I generally shoot for 2 pounds, 2 pounds of meat a day.
Yeah. So
and a lot of fat. I mean, I really focus on the amount of fat that I eat.
Oh, I do too. I
exactly.
ate tons of fat before carnivore. I was that's the best part of a steak. I mean, that's for me.
Yeah.
Prior to, so I eat a boatload of fat. I choose the fattiest cuts in the store, and when I do buy from the grocery store, and like the pork we ate yesterday, those ribs were really, really fatty. So fat content, I did make the mistake of when I was trying to hit that protein target. And I said, okay, to hit it, let me go with this lean cut of chicken or this lean cut of pork, and just get it up. And I did. I got the numbers up, but then when I got it up, I gained 9 pounds in 3 or 4 weeks, and it was just where I wasn't getting enough fat to make my body work. And so once I kind of readjusted that weight just immediately fell off. I'm back down, like I said, 211, 212. And but yeah, just the sheer amounts of food I'm forcing myself to eat right now, whereas I just ate when I was hungry. It's not even 1 meal a day, and if that.
So. Yeah.
I see. Jeff and Meathead, you do 1 meal a day, right?
I'm OMAD. Eat 7 o'clock every night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm not. I supplement with
3.
water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm 2
not
to 3.
strict. I'm not strict OMAD. I do. I'm going to say 3 to 4 days out of the week, I'm probably OMAD. But there's going to be days when I'm going to be busy. I've got a big day. I got a lot to do, and if I get hungry, then I might grab a pre-cooked hamburger patty out of the fridge, slap some butter on it, and chow down on it real quick, and then. Because I don't need to get out there being totally stuffed, out in the Texas heat and all. So days like that, later on in the evening, I'm gonna sit down and eat me a steak or some more hamburger or something. So there's times I do too mad. It's just like I said, 3 or 4 days out of the week I'm all mad. But for me, like I said, like that hamburger patty, all right, I'll slap butter on it. I'm going to add fat to it. And what a lot of people don't realize about hamburger, I don't care what your fat to meat protein ratio is in that. When I have my hamburger made, I always get it a 730. to me, 80-20 is worthless. Doesn't have enough fat in it. But even then, most of the fat renders out. So if you're not pouring that fat back over that meat, or at least eating that meat with butter, you're not getting enough fat to protein ratio, in my opinion. And then, so like yesterday, I had a 2-pound lamb steak, and I probably ate half a stick of butter with that lamb steak. Even though the lamb steak had some decent fat in it, just wasn't enough fat. So I used butter like a condiment on it yesterday.
Yeah, and I was like I mentioned earlier, like right now I'm 3 meals a day, sometimes 2, but 3 meals a day on average. And sometimes I snack, and I can maintain my weight just fine on it. But when I want to lose weight, I reduce that to 2 meals a day, intermittent fasting at like noon and at 7. And I'll make those meals bigger, because you're basically taking what you would eat in the breakfast and you're adding it to the other meals later in the day. And just that change, the quantity of food doesn't change, just the timing and the manner in which I eat it. And then I'll start losing weight again. So because I give my body that break and that time, that's one less glucose spike. That's more time to burn off, whatever I've had before from the fasting. All right. Going to our comments here before we move on. So we talked about that. The better supplements have folate. That's the natural kind versus folic acid, which is the synthetic
Man-made.
kind. Yeah.
Eat more liver.
Yeah. Eat more liver. Exactly. Plan to get your folate that way. Lamb says, I was about to bounce, but suddenly Rick pops up, and it's 3:13 a.m. here. He corrected it on the next comment.
Rick in for the save.
All right. Yeah. So out of curiosity, since it's 3:13 a.m., where are you in the world?
UK.
UK? Is that UK time? All right.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, because it's 4 hours. That's 5 hours. UK, he's somewhere around there, yeah.
That would be 6 hours ahead of me. Yeah. All right. People considering the carnivore diet are usually at a dead-end street. Yes, supplements are required for faster results. Depending on your situation, that could certainly be. All right. Okay, back to our article. So we've exhausted that one. Nutrition deficiencies don't have to be a thing if you eat a varied carnivore diet and some organ meat. All right, 13. Social life becomes an awkward obstacle course.
Nonsense.
Dinner
Rick.
invitations turn into social minefields. Try explaining why you're refusing everything except the plain steak at your friend's carefully planned dinner party. Restaurants become exercises and special requests. Dating gets complicated when you can't share normal meals.
Absolute bunk. Absolute. Okay. Only if you're scared of what you're doing, if you have no confidence in what you're doing. That's how I'll put it. You're just scared.
Yes.
You have no confidence.
Rick,
you don't
have
believe.
no social life.
You don't believe in what you're doing. Because I had no problem with it. I mean, okay, so when I started carnivore, it was May 9th, 2 years ago. June 12th is my birthday. For my birthday, or for everybody's birthday in the family, my daughter makes a cheesecake, and she makes the best cheesecake in the world. I'll fight you for that one. And she's been doing this since she was a little girl. And that's my favorite dessert. Well, so on my birthday, everybody comes over the house. And of course, my daughter brings over a cheesecake. And my wife says, well, you are going to have a slice, aren't you? And I says, no. She says, aren't just a little slice. It doesn't have to be much. I said, no. I said, you don't understand. I'm not going to deviate from this. And she said, you're going to break your little girl's heart. And I says, she will understand. Trust me. And I asked her later. I said, did it bother you that I didn't have any of the cheesecake? She goes, of course not. I know why you didn't. I'd rather have you healthy than eating my cheesecake. And she has since developed a carnivore cheesecake just for me. It's not perfect, but it's not bad either. So there is nothing awkward about standing up for my health, because I'm not doing this for anybody else out there in the world except me. Well, my family, but I'm doing it so I can stay healthy for my family. But that's the point. This is about me. It's not about anybody at a restaurant. It's not about any of my friends. If any of my friends have a problem with the way I'm eating or how I order in a restaurant, then they're not really my friends, are they? So yeah, there's nothing awkward about that. Now, I haven't. I can see where somebody trying to impress a girl on a date might feel a little awkward about it, but once again, they have no confidence in what they're doing, and they're not doing carnivore for the right reasons. I wouldn't have a bit of problem. I don't think. I would just make sure I take a girl out to a restaurant where I can eat the way I want to eat. Now, for example, my father-in-law, when he was still alive, his favorite place to go to eat was a Italian restaurant. And I looked at the menu before going to the Italian restaurant. This is something you do if you're going to go out. You can look up online. Beauty of the internet these days. You can look online. You can find any restaurant's menu. I looked up on the menu on that restaurant, and there was not one single item on there that I would be willing to put in my mouth. Not one. Most places you can get a steak or something, or some chicken or something. There was nothing in this place I could get. So I just made up my mind. I'm going to fast. I'll eat something at the house before I go. So I'm not hungry. When I get there, I'll just drink water because I'm there for the company. I'm not there for the food. I'm there to enjoy my family. I'm not there for the
Right
food.
on.
So why would they look sideways at me just because I don't want to eat or because I don't want to eat what they're eating? If they want to judge me that way, that's fine. But I'm sticking to my guns because this is all about me.
Yeah. I hear you, Geoff. I'm the same way.
And so I'm generally the same way. As I've talked about in my past, I was obviously super strict my first year until I achieved my goal weight, and I am still 97% strict, and but sometimes then what I read from this article too, it doesn't mean I'm not taking it as dining out, because if I'm dining out and I know we're going to go somewhere where there's no options for me, then I'm just simply not going. But everywhere where I do usually go, there's an option for me. The seafood boil, so all the seafood. The steakhouse has the steak. Even this local Mexican restaurant has a dish called Cielo, Mar y Tierra, which basically means sky, sea, and land. And it's basically a chicken breast, a ribeye, and a bunch of shrimp. And it comes with the rice and the side and a guacamole salad. And I can ignore those or give those to somebody else who's going to enjoy them very much. And I can just eat the meats. So I can usually make going out to eat work. As someone who invites me over for dinner, I'll usually explain that I'm carnivore, and they might make something, they might interpret that as I'm keto, and so they might go prepare a meat and then they've got a low carb veggie and they're very proud of it or something. If this happens, once every 3 months, that you get together with somebody invites you over, so they've worked hard and they're showing me some hospitality. And so I'll go ahead and if they're serving a meat that's got like a low carb side veggie, I'll go ahead and have it. So because I believe that, since I want to honor the hospitality that they're showing me. And so I don't have a problem with that. If I'm going to cheat, I'm going to cheat with something that's a single ingredient whole food. That's all natural. I'm not going to cheat with Doritos, Triscuits, that dessert that they baked, or something crazy like that. But if it's a natural food found in nature, and they've worked hard to try and especially they've usually gone out of their way to try and make something that's going to be compatible for me, and then I show my appreciation by having what they serve. It's just one meal, and I can even have just a small portion of it. And later in the day, the next meal, I'm back to carnivore. No harm, no foul. So, but that's just me, you know. But outside
Well,
of that, you know,
I haven't been presented with that. You know,
yeah,
usually people come to my place to eat. You
Mhm.
know, or
Yeah,
we go
that's
to
what-
my daughter's, you know, for get-togethers and parties, and everybody knows how I eat. So, you know, the meals are centered around meat anyways. And there'll be other junk there, plenty of junk for the non-carnivore eaters. I think the only time I've been invited to a friend's house, they knew I was carnivore, but they didn't prepare a meal for me for carnivore. But what we had anyways was seafood. You know, none of it was fried. It was mostly oysters and shrimp.
yeah. Coming up in
Well-
June, I have my son's graduation party, and my wife's organizing it and catering it, and we're going to have between 100 and 150 people there. And so we're having a local pizza place cater it, and if they're going to cater it with pizza, pasta, macaroni and cheese, and of course I'm not going to eat any of
There's
that.
no what.
Yeah, I'm
There's
not
no
going to eat any
way.
of that.
I would eat before then. Okay,
Yeah, well,
so
my wife is going to make a meat and cheese tray and also a fruit tray. And so on
you
that
go.
day, I would be more than happy to eat from any of those trays, you know, because it's the natural food. And I will obviously favor the meat and cheese to fill me up. But yeah, I'm not going to touch the pastas and the pizzas and anything like that.
No.
So
no.
so that's
Well, you know,
that's an
last-
example. Yeah, that's an example of an event that I might attend, you know, where I might eat off plan, as it were, you know. And again, you know, how many graduation parties do I attend a year? One, maybe two, you know. And I'm okay with that because I got apple trees and cherry trees in my backyard, and they're all good for usually 1 week. There's a week in July that the cherries are good before they have filled with worms. And then there's a
You're
week in
nicer.
August where the apples are good before the deer eat them. And I might pick a few, then they're seasonal. And then, you know, outside of that, I'm right back to carnivore. So that's why I call myself 97%.
You're
carnivore.
nicer. You're
I'm what?
nicer than I can be because I said you're nicer, more cordial, or whatever. Me, I was totally dogmatic when I first started.
I
My
was when I first started too.
culture, I adopted the and Chinese New Year comes around. It's like when our Chinese friends invited us over for dinner. It's like I just started this diet, and I said, well, you know, this is what I'm doing, and they because I wasn't doing seed oils, I wasn't. A lot of their stuff is fried vegetables and carbs like noodles. So I'm like, you know, I can sit this one out. It's not a big deal. And then come Chinese New Year, after we'd been in this for 6 months, and this year, Chinese New Year, I couldn't partake of any of the favorite stuff that I liked. They had this gal makes cookies, and I couldn't eat any. So for Chinese New Year, everybody else was eating the food from back home in Malaysia. They cooked me a ribeye steak, 2 of them. Well, yeah, it was 2 steaks, and that was like really thoughtful of them. But I generally, I refuse to eat out because I don't trust anybody else's cooking. And it's when I had dinner over there one time, and she had fried chicken. I wasn't even thinking. I took 1 leg, and then I was paying for it the next day. Started the next day with the inflammation. Pain was back in my legs. I couldn't deal with it, so I told the wife, and so the next time we went over for dinner, I didn't want the chicken, and she's like, "Well, you don't like it?" And I said, "I can't have it because of this," but that's okay. And we go out to eat. I generally fast because I want them to enjoy the food.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, you know, you all can enjoy the food, and I'll enjoy the company.
Yeah, you
And
can
I
always
just
say
sit
I
there
have food allergies.
No, I
Allergic
mean,
food.
my friends, they know me well enough by now that when they cooked me 2 steaks for dinner, for Chinese New Year dinner, reunion
Mhm.
dinner.
All right, you coming back in here, dog?
I'm sorry.
My dog.
Yeah,
keeps opening the
you
door
know,
and coming in.
I
last
think I'm
month I
lagging
went.
out.
Yeah, you were. Last month I went up to Colorado to go to an uncle's funeral, one of my wife's uncles, and you know, I cooked up a bunch of half-pound hamburger patties, about a dozen of them.
Hello?
Took them up there with us because we didn't want to eat on the way. You know, we wanted to drive straight through and straight back, and a dozen hard-boiled eggs, and a little bit of cheese, and so after the funeral, we had this gathering, you know, and there was a potluck, and I had my wife go scout out the kitchen, and there was absolutely nothing there that I would eat. Nothing. There was potato salad. There was baked beans, sandwiches. What else? Chips. You know, just nothing but junk. Sweet tea and soda waters. And so I just went out to the truck, downed me a pound of hamburger, you know, and came back in, and I was fine. You know, I just prepared ahead for it.
Anybody else cook on the engine?
I never have. No.
I've done it a few times.
There you go.
I've warmed
I've
stuff
done
up on the engine.
that was-
Never cooked.
I was a truck
When we
driver for
raced
2
dirt
years.
cars.
Yes, I have.
When we raced dirt cars back in the day, people would laugh, and this, you know, of course, it was a hot dog, but we would wrap hot dogs in aluminum foil and put them on the intake, and then run hot laps, and they come in preheated, ready to go. A little bit of gas taste, but you know, hey, it was racing.
Hey,
so definitely done that.
back when I was a truck driver, I used to go to the store and I'd buy these pre-cooked ribs, and I'd take them on the road with me, and I'd heat those up in the truck stops on my manifold.
Mm-hmm.
You bet.
All right, let's go to some comments here. So we were talking about where his lamb's from. It's not the UK, it's the Netherlands. And Rick has got a giant population of tapeworms inside, 6 pounds a day. You got to feed those tapeworms. That's why you eat so much.
That's from eating all that iguana. Them iguanas got worms.
Honestly, Rick, 6 pounds a day that's a lot of meat. That's
Well,
impressive.
I work hard. I work hard all the time. I'm always on the move.
Yeah,
But you know,
I know you just got home from work and you're tired. What do you do, if I may
I'm
ask?
not tired. What I was doing, I had to fix an air conditioner, and then I was putting up a chain link fence. It was about 150 feet. So I waited till later in the day because it's too hot. You know, the weather here is brutal. It's in the mid 90s and the sun is out. So I started the job around 4 and I finished, well, after 8.
All right. Excuse me here. Willow, go lay down. All right. My dog she's better now. I took her to the vet a couple days ago, but she's better now. And she's got all this energy and has been kind of driving me crazy. All right. I'm a chef. I fight the fight every day. And you never met my mother, talking about, food and
Cheesecake.
Yeah, cheesecake.
That was about his cheesecake.
Yeah. One bite won't kill you. Ugh. Yeah, that's it's a line that we hear a lot from those who just don't understand.
Sometimes it'll make you throw up.
Yeah. So
Hey, and you know,
or have the runs, or what's interesting
that is
is
not true. One bite can kill you.
Depends what it's a bite of, and you're right. That's exactly what I was getting at is, so, all right. So there is truth in the statement, like one bite won't kill you, because people are sitting around eating multiple bites of it and they're still alive the next day. But here's the part that you don't understand is, like, depending on who you are, and where you're at in your health journey. And if you're still addicted to stuff, one bite could
Bingo.
totally derail you. So like in my first year, I was strict. I couldn't have one bite of anything. And there was a couple times where I tried a bite. And I know most of you are familiar with the story. We're in October of 23, so I'm 6 months into it. My wife makes my mom's pumpkin bread recipe. And she's like, I want you to try it to see if it's just like your mom's. Like, okay, my wife worked hard in the kitchen. She baked all this stuff. I don't want a slice, but I will try a bite, because I honor my wife in that way. So I took one bite of cheesecake and she did a fantastic job. But oh my gosh, did the cravings just come rushing back. I was shaking, I was jonesing, I was starving. I went down and ate like 6 pounds of food and couldn't satisfy myself. And it was an experience. I never felt like that before. And I can only imagine that that's what it's like when you're addicted to a substance and you've been exposed to it again, and you're addicted forever kind of thing. Now, today that would not happen, but in that first year, certainly one bite of something that I was trying to avoid could have sent me into this tailspin where I backslide and then I'm eating junk for weeks and I struggle to get back on plan. And next thing I know, a month or two has gone by and I've gained all the weight that I've lost back, and all my symptoms that I've healed have returned. So yeah, yes, one bite won't kill you, but yes, one bite can kill you.
So
a
that's
junkie.
where I'm at, without a doubt.
Yeah,
That's what
I'm
I
a
was
junkie.
just thinking. Yeah, I was thinking the same way. Just the carnivore for me has been more about the elimination part of the diet. It's the stuff I'm not eating that's what's helping me. And so I could reintroduce stuff. I think I've never had the cravings. I was lucky enough. I just fell head in, and I never had cravings. I don't get hungry very often, so I don't have to snack. I mean, just that's been positive. But what I think about most often is like a guy that I work out with sometimes in the gym. He's been a carnivore for 4 years, but on Thursdays he eats 2 sweet potatoes, and it's basically for just a carb load, because Friday's his heavy day when he goes in the gym. He lifts extremely hard and heavy for a long period on Friday. So Thursdays he eats 2 sweet potatoes. And I was thinking, I could probably reintroduce something, but deep down, I don't know what triggered my autoimmune disease in 2018. Could have been sweet potatoes. It could have been green beans. It could have been anything. So for me, one bite of anything might be the wrong bite. And then, I know how bad I was I was in 2018, and it's just really not worth it. I mean, it's a roll of the dice I'm not willing to take. So as far as I can see, I'm going to be pretty strict carnivore, forever. I just don't see it. The gamble's not there for me.
Well, and my test was having a bowl 6 months into carnivore, having a bowl of chili, and I was sick for 3 days.
Yeah.
So that tells me that I cannot eat that stuff. My body has cleaned itself up. I've gotten rid of all the toxins. And so now I'm more sensitive to that stuff. So if I ingest sugar, if I ingest plants, it's going to affect me harder than it ever did before.
Mm-hmm.
You missed it when you linked that earlier, but in regards to your jalapenos and this comment you just made, I bought a couple of Chomps beef sticks when my wife and I were out shopping this last weekend, and I had finished one up, and not even 10 minutes later, it ruined me. It wrecked me.
Really?
Yeah.
And the Chomps ain't bad.
Exactly. It had jalapeno in it though.
Oh yeah.
And I had the second one on the way over. So it was a double whammy, because I got out of their place, I got home, and it happened again. And I was wrecked for the rest of the night. So I know I can't eat any kind of funky. I eat the Green Ridge beef sticks if I want to have a beef stick, but typically I don't snack. But I was just making light of, you're talking about your jalapeno poppers earlier. And
Yeah, I mean, I could tie that
Right.
in a couple. Yeah,
So
I
I
could
was
tie a
just trying
couple
to-
different points we've had tonight
Yeah.
with the seed oils and eating out and the awkwardness and everything. We got a local restaurant, Mexican restaurant that my wife and my son and daughter-in-law, they really like. And I've only eaten out 3 times in the last year. 2 of times was at that place. First time I said, hey, can you scrape the grill and cook mine in butter? And I just want just the hamburger, no seasons. And the manager was super nice. He was, hey, like most people should be, he was appreciative that I was there spending my money. So he did it just like that. Came out, it was great. The next time, a few months later, we go in and there was another person there and they acted like, really? Is that what you want us to do? And I was like, yeah. And so I assumed that's what they did until I ate. And then, like Meathead was just saying, I'm on the ride home. We only live 15 minutes away. And this was a pullover on the side of the road type, not going to make it. And it was just the seed oils. And that's why I made the funny I put on the board yesterday about the seed oils in the store. And for me, I mean, it was like everything I ate, before this, I was probably eating a cup of seed oil a day. I mean, with the fried foods I was eating and everything. And now I am just super sensitive. I mean, like the least little bit, you can cook something in it. And it's like, I can't say I can always taste it, but within 30 to 40 minutes, I'm like, oh, yep, there it is. And so I react kind of, I mean, and I hate to say, we joked last time about loose stools, but it's violent. The seed oils just trigger me that fast now. And
I thought
before
I was the only
I
one.
could eat it by the bucket.
We're teetotalers. Okay. Face it. We're all teetotalers.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe I don't have that problem because I haven't completely, like, I've made a vow never to eat grains again. I've made a vow never to eat refined sugar again, but I did not include seed oils in that vow, and I don't eat them 97% of the time, but when I go out to eat, I don't go out of my way to say, you're not cooking that with a seed oil, are you? I just kind of like, hey, I'm here and it's just a one-off occurrence. So,
But you're not affected. It doesn't affect you like it does us.
It doesn't affect me. I'm just wondering if I went strict no seed oil for a year or two, and then reintroduced it, would I have a similar experience to Scott? That's kind of what I'm curious about. Of course,
not sure.
I don't know. I could try and cut out seed oils for a couple years, then have some seed oils, and I might still have no reaction. Because that's just me as an individual. So I'm not sure.
I'm glad to know I'm not the only person that suffers with that kind of food, because that's always been an issue with me. I go to eat somewhere and then it tastes good, and in 3 hours I'm on the toilet, or I get headaches, or all kinds of weird things happen. I had no idea. And yet I tell everybody I can't eat fried chicken because every time I eat fried chicken, I get sick. And yet I eat heart attack chicken almost every day, cooked in beef tallow or lard. So at least I know it's some oils. And the funny thing is, I handle a lot of seed oils because I take the used oil and I use it as fuel for my truck. So I got more seed oils here than anybody. I just won't put them in my mouth.
Yeah, because that's what it's made for. It's made for industrial use.
Yeah.
Hair Diesel, it invented the diesel engine to run off of peanut oil. That's what it was designed to run on. It was never designed to run on diesel fuel, on petrol.
My truck runs good on seed oils.
That's what it was made to run on originally.
All right, so let's move on to our next point here, because we're trying to get down to 17 here. So this is number 14. It says your skin might clear up beautifully. Acne sufferers often see dramatic improvement. Eliminating dairy, except butter for some, and processed foods can transform problematic skin. The reduction in insulin spikes helps regulate oil production, a powerful motivation to continue despite other challenges, if you're having other challenges. So, but I can attest to this too. I think that is accurate. I used to get a lot more acne than I do now. It's kind of too bad that I get any at the age of 49, but it happens from time to time, but it used to happen all the time. And I don't suffer from that anymore as well. So I've seen that in my case. I never had any other skin conditions though. That I've heard that other people with like psoriasis and rosacea, I believe, are two of them, common skin conditions. They've had those clear up on a carnivore diet.
Well, the article was doing pretty good up to a point, you know, and that point was right there at the end when he said it has everything to do with the oils, you know, in your skin, and that's not what it is. Acne, like psoriasis or anything else, is an autoimmune disease, pure and simple. It has nothing to do with the oils in your face. Okay, so carnivore is well known for curing autoimmune diseases, which in turn cures or fixes your skin diseases. Now, me, I don't deal with acne or nothing like that, but I've had dandruff ever since I first grew my hair out. When I was going into the 7th grade was the first time I grew my hair out, and because I always wore a butch haircut when I was a kid, and I've dealt with dandruff all my life. And then I was 8 or 9 months into carnivore when I took a long motorcycle trip down to New Orleans and packing light. I didn't take my dandruff shampoo, and I thought, I'll be all right, you know. It'll be rough getting started again, you know, but 4 days isn't going to hurt me too bad. And when I got home, I noticed that I didn't have any flakes. I didn't have any itchiness. And I said, well, could it be I don't have dandruff anymore? And I went ahead and quit using dandruff shampoo. And, you know, a year and 4 months later, and I still don't have dandruff. My dandruff is gone. It's cured. Why? Because it was not an immune disease and it's cured. Carnivore did that for me.
So with that comment, then maybe I should clarify that what I'm referring to is probably not what you would call acne, but I'm a hairy individual. And so sometimes I get infected hairs, you know.
Yeah, that's totally different.
It manifests itself in a similar way. But, you know, that usually will happen either on my back or on my neck, and it used to happen on my face, on my forehead, on my cheeks and stuff like that. But that part of it's gone. So my complexion overall has improved by being on this carnivore diet and losing the weight and being healthy. Whether it has to do with a reduction in insulin spikes, I don't know, you know. So, but I've definitely seen improvement in that regard. And I know a lot of people that have some serious skin conditions and have cured those through a carnivore diet. I believe that's what got Paul Saladino on this years ago, was he had severe skin problems.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of also Carrie's daughter, I think, also suffered from that, and she's cleared up considerably. Emma, yeah, she's cleared up considerably by finally adopting her father's diet, you know, and so the proof is there, you know, it works.
Well, and then there's Bella. Bella's another one that she has severe acne and it clears up. And here's the thing, it's another one of those things that a lot of people report on when they first start carnivores is their acne clears up, those that have it, chronic acne. And it's also their metric that they go by as to whether they can add something back into their diet. Because they'll find that if they add something in and their acne, they may have no other symptoms whatsoever except the acne. Their acne comes back if they introduce this you know, food back into their diet, and so they know they can't have that anymore. I remember when Bella went to China to go visit family for whatever reason, she came back and she was breaking out again because she just couldn't eat a pure carnivore diet over there. She did the best she could, you know, but I've heard that from a lot of people that as soon as they try this, acne comes back. Well, they know they can't do that anymore.
Michaela Peterson.
Yeah, she's another one that uses that as a metric.
Yeah.
So does Britt. Rick is a good example.
I've never had acne. I've never had dandruff. My parents told me that putting lard in my hair would make it fall out, but take a look.
Exactly.
So
looks like I need some lard.
Yeah, you need some.
Obviously, it grows on the sides and the back, but I've got, I got that horseshoe thing going on, and I'm just not ready for that look yet. So I just shave it off. All right, very good.
I do have a bone. I'm one of the rare people because my skin condition got worse since starting carnivore. That's an honest. I'm not yanking anybody's chain, but right here in my forehead, I've got where my skin, I don't know what you want to call it, if it's psoriasis, if it's eczema, it flakes, it sticks out, it's annoying, so I pick it out, but it's constantly there.
That's something I'll have to look into and do some research on. Do you wear a hat?
I despise hats.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So sometimes
no hats
can collect sweat and then they get dirty, and that's always constantly touching your skin. Yeah, that's
no hats, no bandanas. Yeah. I bathe once a week.
I've also heard
whether
of
you need
people.
It or not. Whether you need it or not.
Yeah.
I can.
Have you tried washing the face more frequently?
What?
You tried washing your face more frequently?
Yep, I've done that. It dries out.
I know. I've heard of some individuals who, after months and months and months on a carnivore diet, then they had a bunch of skin problems, but then that was attributed to oxalate dumping and things like that too. So that's something that I have to look into, is see what other causes could it be, because it might not be diet related. It might be
histamine,
might be stress related, could be environmental.
Oh, shit. I'm not I tell you what, I know it's not environmental because I only go to work and home.
Mm-hmm.
So it started before I even started work, so I know it's not work. So it could be the house. But could it be histamine? Because again, I eat only one type of eggs and one type of bacon.
I would have to look into that. So
some people do have an intolerance to egg whites.
Yeah. Eggs can be a trigger for some people. So when I think of histamines, most people that complain about histamines are complaining about beef, believe it or not. Yeah, aged beef.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll have to look into that one.
Okay.
All right. Number 15. We're going to get through. If you got to bail because we're 2 hours in, go ahead. But I'm going to get through these tonight. There's 15, 16, and 17, I believe. Blood sugar levels stabilize remarkably. Diabetics take note. Without carbs, blood glucose stops its daily roller coaster rides. Insulin sensitivity often improves dramatically on a carnivore diet. Some type 2 diabetics report reduced medication needs and even complete remission of symptoms. So,
duh.
Yeah. No, they're spot on with this one. I know tons and tons of people who reverse their type 2 diabetes with a carnivore diet.
Yeah, I've introduced it to a couple people, and they've had the only thing with this one, if they keep adding those little caveats at the end, it makes us this is the one where they probably says, hey, consult with your physician or something, because if you're taking that medicine and then you get on the carnivore diet, your sugar could drop tremendously because of how well the carnivore diet works. So that's one that might need a little caveat that, hey, you want to check, you don't want to hurt yourself. But I know mine, which I've never really had an issue. I'm been 98, 99. I never broke 100 till I got on a carnivore diet. And now I'm a year later, 80, 82, 83 in the mornings. My dawn effect is 84, 85. So yeah, this one is spot on. I just people who are diabetic may need to pay attention to the medicine they're taking. Coupled with carnivore could drag them pretty low.
Yeah, that depends on the individual too. So at the same time, you don't want to start a carnivore diet today and on that same day stop taking your medicines and your
Right.
insulin.
Right. Yeah.
You know, that might not work out so well, because especially if you need the insulin to lower that blood sugar, it could stay high. It also might learn that you have type 1 if it stays high,
Right.
So you want to be careful with that too. You want to, monitor your levels and maybe gradually wean off the medication depending on how well you're starting to regulate your sugars. Yep. All right. So yeah, we're good with that one. All right. Number 17, sleep patterns, or 16. Sleep patterns undergo strange transformations. Night owls become early birds. Many carnivore dieters report needing less sleep, yet waking more refreshed. The absence of carb-induced drowsiness and stable blood sugar levels throughout the night might explain this phenomenon. People experience insomnia initially, but many report it resolves as their bodies adapt to using fat for fuel. So, how are your sleep patterns?
Mine are not good. Well, I mean, they're consistent, but I'm a lifelong shift worker. I've never had a day shift job. I've worked days and nights, rotating swing shifts since I was 17. So my sleep pattern is 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock a.m. and p.m. So when I work days or I'm off, like tonight, I should have been in the bed an hour ago. But at 3:30, 4 o'clock, I'm wide awake. And so that part what we talked about earlier, when I wake up, I'm awake. It's not like wake up at 3:30 and lay back down and go to sleep for a little while. When I'm up, I'm up. So it's that quick. But as far as a pattern, nothing's really been interrupted. Do I sleep a little bit better? I think so. When I wake up, I don't have that morning grogginess or that just woke up, let me stumble the first 15 minutes. When I wake up, it's bam, feet hit the floor, ready to go. But as far as pattern, nothing's really changed that much when I sleep, just because lifelong shift worker, continue to be a shift worker. So my pattern is kind of ingrained.
I'll talk about my sleep in just a moment, but I need to go use the restroom. So if you guys could go ahead and continue this discussion, I'll be back in a minute.
Drink of water.
Well, that's it. We're just going to discuss between the three of us, I guess.
Yeah, my sleep, it's always been bad. I've never been a good sleeper. And I don't know why. I mean, it's changed, but it's mainly changed from retiring. When I was working, I had a hard time going to sleep because I was always working out problems in my head. My job required that I had to fix things and troubleshoot things. And so quite often I'd have something going on in my head that I couldn't let go of. And so I struggled with that. In all my life, I've gotten up between 3 and 5 o'clock in the morning. So even when I retired, I didn't have that. I was able to shut my brain off now. So I was able to go to sleep quick enough. But I would still get up between 3 and 5 every single morning. And that's just, I haven't needed an alarm clock to wake up in decades. Now, I've been retired for 5 years now. And since I started carnivore, in the beginning, I was still getting up between 3 and 5. But here lately, in the last, I'm going to say 6 months or so, I have started, whereas before I was getting 4 to 5 hours sleep a night, I'm now getting on the average about 7 hours sleep a night. So
Awesome.
It has improved. Now I'll still wake up several times throughout the night, but I am getting 6 to 7 hours now, which is an improvement. And I no longer have sleep apnea, where I was a 22 on the sleep apnea scale.
I'm now 4, which is virtually no sleep apnea. So I don't use the machine anymore. So I'm pretty tickled with that.
That's awesome.
Nice. Yeah.
Myself, I similar to Scott. I've worked various shifts my whole life. I prefer first, but of course, third is my backup, and now I'm stuck on second. So I do what I do to pay the bills and have a life. When I before I started carnivore, I could say that I would constantly be tired. I'd fall asleep sometimes during the day, even though I'd woke up 3 hours earlier and had 7, 8 hours sleep the night before. But now, with me working second shift, I'm usually up by, I don't know, 7, 8 hours of sleep. I'd like to get 7, 8 hours sleep. I notice if I have any less, that I usually don't have any. I'm at a weight stall. Anything, if I get my 7, 8 hours of sleep, that's when start losing weight again, and I still haven't met my goal. So that's maybe when I get to maintenance stage, I can do with less sleep. But right now, it's 7, 8 hours. I sleep better. I've never been told I have sleep apnea, but I do. I could wake the neighborhood, I guess, with my snoring. My snoring's gotten better because my wife stopped complaining. Just a lot of things, but a big improvement in my sleep.
Yeah. So mine is actually, I don't even know how to comment on mine. So I used to get up multiple times a night to use the restroom, and that probably is related to the kidney disease. Now I still get up once a night, and I'll fall asleep about 11 or 12, about an hour from now, on average. But then I'll wake up at 3 in the morning, let the dog out, go back to bed, and sleep again until 7:30 or 8. And that's my pattern. So I have what I call it a biphasic sleep pattern. And this started around the time that I had started carnivore, but also around that time we got a puppy. and so I was getting up in the middle of the night to let the puppy out so it wouldn't mess inside. And so now it's become I think it's become a habit really for the both of us, so it's just my body clock says get up at 3. If I don't get up at 3 by 3:30, the dog will be breathing over me, let me out, so because it's become we've kind of trained each other. I don't think it has anything to do with my carnivore diet though. So, but maybe it does. I've seen another carnivore YouTuber say that the carnivore diet made them biphasic. I don't really know if that's the case with me. So I think a lot of it depends on how much I drink leading up to bedtime too. Because if I drink a lot, because of my kidney disease, I'll have to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night because, I think I'm technically, I would produce urine more slowly. So I don't get it all out of me before bedtime. So theoretically, I think I do just fine in that department though. So yeah, I don't know how to answer that one.
Mine's the same. I go to bed around 11:30, fall asleep between 10 and 12, and generally wake up anywhere from 6:30 to 7:30. And then I do get up at 3 in the morning to take a leak. I keep a container near the bed so I don't have to go walking around and tripping over the cat. And then after that, I just go right back to sleep. I don't even remember. I do remember waking up, looking at the clock somewhere between 3 and 4 in the morning, take my leak, go to bed, and then next thing I know, I'm waking up. Now, I leave the window blind open so the sun wakes me up. I don't use an alarm clock.
Nice.
Yeah, that's where I am now. I wake up with the sun.
Yeah, I think I leave my blinds shut, so that doesn't work for me. Also, I face the west, so the sun, the light would. I mean, light would still would come in the window, but if it was coming in on the east side, it would really shine in. So
Yeah.
no, but that's interesting. Okay, so yeah, you have a pattern similar to mine.
Yeah. If I
And,
wake up too early, yeah, I do wake up with the sun above.
All right.
Also, when I wake up, I have full energy. I'm not
That's
one of
me.
those people that's sleepy.
Yep.
Yeah, that's me.
So me too. And you know what's interesting? So I used to have to suck down all kinds of coffee. I don't drink coffee anymore. I haven't since 2019. But I replaced it with tea. So I usually wake up. The first thing I do is drink 16 ounces of water to rehydrate me. And then I'll brew a cup of tea. And there's many days where I brew that cup of tea and I sip on maybe half of it and then I forget about it, because it's just not something I need to get myself started and going throughout the day. So my caffeine requirements are low. So
Yeah, I've quit all
Oh.
caffeine. Just don't
Yeah,
have a
I-
need for it anymore.
I haven't completely given it up yet. Like I didn't have any all day today, and then I was on Dr. Kilt's at 5:30, and I felt like I was falling asleep. So I went and made some Diet Mountain Dew to have some caffeine because I didn't want to be here on this live stream and fall asleep on you guys. So I wanted to make sure that I was, alert. And I'm sure I would have been alert once the stream started, but for some reason I was really I've passed out on one of his live streams before, but I'm not actually I'm not actually talking on that one. I'm sitting back listening on the Zoom call most of the time. And so yeah, I'll get sometimes I'm not too excited about the guest or the discussion, and I'll just be like, I'll literally lay my head down on my desk, fall asleep with my camera on, and everybody can see me. All right, here's our final slide. Number 17, your relationship with food fundamentally changes. Food becomes fuel, not entertainment. The carnivore diet's simplicity eliminates decision fatigue and emotional eating for many people. Cravings often disappear completely after the adaptation period. Adherents report a liberating sense of control and freedom from food obsession, though others find the restriction extreme and unsustainable long term.
Spot on.
Yeah, no, this is
Yeah, I
true.
agree.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Food is not, I don't eat for pleasure necessarily anymore. I will make sure what I eat is pleasurable,
Mm-hmm.
but food used to be, hey, what should we do? Let's eat. It was just part of that socializing, having fun mentality. And now I don't want to eat. You could not even be hungry. Oh, what should we do? Oh, let's go eat. Let's go out to eat. We're bored. We have nothing to do. Let's go out to eat. Are you hungry?
Mhm.
No, but let's go out to eat anyway. Don't do that anymore.
Yeah, that one's
Smart
funny
food.
for me. It's I remember we posted this on the board growing up as a kid. I mean, I posted this on the board one time before. My dad would always say, finish that what you're eating because we've got to frame a house in the morning. Finish that what you're eating because we're going pour concrete in the morning. Finish this because we're going to do this. And I guess I just assumed from early on, you eat in order to go do something. And so coming along, it was never like, eating out was a big thing or food was a source of entertainment or something that was intended to be enjoyable. I mean, we enjoyed the company and hanging out with people and whatnot. And, the family cookings were all there, I'm saying, but it was always you ate because it was something else you had to do, work related. And I guess I just kind of had that ingrained early on. And so, that's just never had that. So for me, yeah, I guess that slide's probably spot on. It was probably close to being spot on before carnivore for me.
Not for me. ingrained into me. You better finish what's on your plate if you know what's good for you.
Yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, well, I mean, we joke. My
that
mom,
was-
she fixed two things every night: what you were going to eat and what you weren't going to. You weren't going to eat anything else. So yeah, without a doubt. But it was like, but my dad just associated everything with work. Hey, we're going to go 12, 14 hours tomorrow. Sun's going to be out. It's going to be a pretty day. You better eat. And so I guess I kind of had that connection early on, and so food was never really a fun thing for me, and that may have helped me with the carnivores because my son's done it a couple different times, and the lack of variety is his downfall. So I could see where that would be an issue for some people.
My food can be very entertaining.
when
Really?
you're chasing it.
When
Yeah,
I'm
it has to
chasing
be-
it,
Yeah, 6 pounds. Yeah.
Especially them parking lot chickens.
parking lot chicken, they're hard to catch. You have to see, you got to be quick to get them. And same thing, with iguanas.
imagine.
You can shoot them, but you better get them before they go in the canal.
Drew says, Bob, how goes it? And Rick, I've seen you around several channels. So, yeah.
A lot of small ones and a few big ones.
Yeah, it's going good. He also asks, any updates on the horizon regarding your kidney function? I'm CKD3B and having to really lock down on this. You are inspiring me. Well, thank you, Drew. So the last results I shared in the video about suing a doctor, which I'm not going to do. And that was inspired by someone's comment, and I thought, oh, that's an interesting thought, something to talk about, and would make maybe a clickbaity title, which it didn't, but things are improving. Now my next nephrologist visit is in June, so actually this should be in a couple weeks, and so I will run those tests again. Let me look at this.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. It's at the end of July. Okay, so my next visit with my nephrologist is at the end of July. So I will test again, and hopefully my creatinine continues to go down. Which I don't really care if it doesn't go down too much, because I don't rely on creatinine. Because I have kidney disease, my creatinine is always going to be overinflated because you produce more protein waste, and my kidneys only filter at a certain rate, so my creatinine levels in my blood will go up, causing that EGFR to go down, and which basically scares my doctors to death because it appears like my kidney function is getting worse. Instead, I rely on other markers, which I talk about in these videos. So like a good one is cystatin C. My EGFR with creatinine is getting better because my creatinine is improving. My EGFR with cystatin C is like the best it's ever been, which has me pretty excited. And then things that I need to see my phosphorus coming down, because that was really high, and it is coming down. And my hematocrit and hemoglobin were low, and I would need to see those come up. And then, of course, that's just with the blood. And then I also want to check the urine and protein contents in the urine, as well as a couple other things to check. So I'll do that. I'll test again in July, and then I'll post an update on those videos. My next video, though, is gonna be jumping on this sugar diet. That's the one I'm drafting right now, is the sugar diet one. And then I have another one that talks about triglycerides again, because I've been off fenofibrate since November. And my triglycerides, I had them tested just last week, a couple days ago. They were only 222.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, they were only 222. Now, when I lost the 50 pounds super fast, they were like, they went up into almost 3,000. Scared me to death, because they say that triglyceride to HDL ratio is an indicator of heart disease risk. Even your carnivore doctors say that.
Not my cardiologist.
Scared my PCP. That's why he put me on the fenofibrate, which I was willing to take at the time because I wanted them to come down. And I mean, it was a terrifying time. And then now that I'm off the phenylfibrate, except the phenylfibrate only brought it down to 555. I'm 222 now without phenylfibrate. And so what this tells me is that given enough time, this triglyceride level would have come down on its own. And for the reasons that I mentioned in the triglyceride video, I spill lipoprotein lipase, so my triglycerides have a longer life than yours do, or most people's do. And so that's why they ran so high. But eventually they would have broken down, or eventually you would have burned them for energy. And that's what I've done over the long term. So I'm not concerned about my triglycerides anymore. And because of that, I'm ready to start losing weight again, because I'd like to take off another 15 pounds. So yeah, he watched the one and the phenylfibrate BS. That's right. So Lewis, welcome aboard. And he says hi to Rick. All right, sounds good. All right, very good. Now going back to our subject. Your relationship with food. We already talked about this, so we're good. That last sentence said that others find the restriction extreme and unsustainable in a long term. And I just wanted to say that, here at Carnivore Talk, we are reasonable carnivores. And
Speak for yourself.
If some of us want to be strict carnivores for life, and that's okay. And some of us look forward to trying to reintroduce certain foods, and that's okay. We're not going to criticize you. If you want to join the channel, join in the chat, be on screen, or join our community over at carnivoretalk.com. If you're keto, we're cool with that. If you're animal based, we're cool with that. If you're dirty carnivore, strict carnivore, we're cool with that. If you're a vegan, and as long as you're not a militant, preachy jerk, we're cool with that too. Yeah. And so yeah, it's okay. Diet in the end is very personal. So, and makes me think of a video I saw of Dr. Baker today about, can you eat fruit on a carnivore diet? And he said, well, you can, but that's not a carnivore diet anymore, technically. But he's saying, but I'm not saying don't ever eat it again. That's entirely an individual thing. Some people will thrive on a strict carnivore diet. Other people's maybe not so much. It's unique to the individual. And even he admits to having fruit maybe once a year, so, he's a very reasonable guy also. So, all right. Anything else we want to talk about?
Yeah, Nick
Well,
Norowitz had an interesting video he made today about
Is it carb cycling?
Yeah, the carb cycling. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I commented on that one.
I'm familiar with it. Carb cycling is a term that's been around since at least the 90s, and it could be something that helps people lose weight. So there's a million ways to lose weight.
He's talking about a milkshake that could kill you. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I don't want that flavor. Yeah.
A Heath bar milkshake, if I remember.
Yeah. So like if you're just trying to lose weight, low fat can work, calorie counting can work, the sugar diet can work. Keto can work, carnivore diet can work. Exercising yourself to death can work. So losing weight, there's a zillion ways to lose weight that works, and that's why there's so many books about it, and everybody has a different opinion about it. I think, however, though, if you want to optimize your health, not just lose weight, but if you want to optimize your health, then definitely a carnivore-centric diet is the way to go, because there's an abundant amount of evidence that shows that that's exactly what we are designed for. So
amen to that.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, the people that say that it's unsustainable, I always see this from authors, somebody who's written a paper or something, and they'll say, well, I tried it. It's unsustainable. And then you look and see how long they tried it, and they were on it for a couple of weeks and it was unsustainable. They never even got past the adaptation phase. Generally most people that have been on it for 6 months to a year find that it's totally sustainable and they have no problems with it. And those that don't are those who constantly keep letting carbs in and they don't ever get over their carb addiction. You've got to give it time to get over the carb addiction and you will have a new relationship with food, no doubt about it.
Just like marriage.
Yeah. But if you're just not willing to get over those carbs, you're going to struggle. At some point you got to bear down and say, I'm not going to do this anymore.
It's kind of like
you got to decide you don't want to do carnivore and you'd rather do keto. Okay, fine. Then do keto. Have fun. Or ketovore.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you're trying to quit alcohol and you keep it in the fridge at home, but you tell yourself you're not going to drink it. That's not sustainable.
Yeah.
That's not sustainable.
I beg to differ, Bob. And now I'm going to tell you, my story's a little different.
For most people.
But I was a raging alcoholic functioning 2 fists of whiskey a day in a 4-hour period. We've got booze in the fridge. We've got booze in the cupboard. I don't touch it. I don't even smell it. If I don't smell it, I won't gag, because my wife came home after having a couple of drinks with her girlfriend one night, and I went to give her a hug, and she was talking to me, and I smelled it, and I just about wanted to vomit. So.
But how long have you been without it? Like, I've got alcohol downstairs too. I haven't opened them in like 2.5 years.
I've been sober. November 19th will be 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But again, my family was a bunch of alcoholics. My uncles, my aunts, my dad, my real dad, and my mom was the only one that didn't drink, and she couldn't stand to see us kids drink.
Mm-hmm.
But here, now I am. I can see what everybody put her through.
Now, do you believe in that you can't even have one drop mentality, or it could unravel?
I'll vomit.
Okay, yeah. And the reason
Alcohol
I say that
turns me
is
on.
I have a friend who was an alcoholic in his teens and 20s, went to AA, got off of it, and he was sober for 20 to 25 years. And then what they teach you is you can never have another drop. You're basically addicted for life. And one day he had a bad day at work, and one of his coworkers said, let's go out after our shift and I'll just have one drink. So they had one drink, and then he got in his car, and on his way home, he stopped at a convenience store and bought a case, went home, guzzled the whole thing down. And then he was caught in that rut again for another couple years before he was able to get back on his feet. So that's kind of where I'm commenting from, is this experience of a friend of mine that just lives one town over. And
well, you should know. I'm sorry, but you should know, because you're on the carnivore diet, and you admitted that when you went off the rail a little bit,
mm-hmm.
it even for a couple of weeks, it got bad.
Yeah, the bite of the pumpkin bread.
Yep.
Yeah, and that I was jonesing. I think today, now that it's been another year and a half since that, 2.5 years combined,
Mm-hmm.
I could probably have a bite of pumpkin bread today and not experience that. But that first 6 months, that first year,
okay,
I had to be strict. And having that one bite at the 6-month mark kind of proved it to me,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I look at the whole carb thing myself, is like an alcoholic,
Yep.
Because, I learned my lesson when I quit dipping snuff, when I got off of tobacco, because, I quit once for 2 years and then had that one dip, And man, I was hooked worse than I ever was before. And then it was another 8 or 10 years before I tried it again. But when I turned 50, I quit again. And I know darn well if I ever touch tobacco again, I'll be hooked again. And this time I won't get off of it. And I treat the carbs the same way. I'm a carb junkie. And I know if I touch them, I'm going to have problems. And so I have to abstain. Now I've been.
He just froze up.
Okay, I thought it was me again.
Yeah, no, Jeff's frozen. Let's see. We'll see if he falls back out. In the meantime, it looks like we're putting Rick to sleep.
You know, that's what happens when you get close to bedtime.
Yeah, no, it is 10:30 at night. And so I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and close this out. It's been 2.5 hours plus. I'm going to end the stream shortly, and you can stay on once I end the stream, and we can still talk if you like. But anybody who's tuned in, we really appreciate you being here. It was nice interacting with you on the chat. Rick, I'm glad you got to join us on screen. That was awesome. And it's nice that we finished this article. We'll find another subject to discuss next Monday, and we'll share that subject with you, with all of you, so you can be prepared. All right. And so if you'd like to join us on screen in the future, you can do that in a couple ways. You can become a member of the channel for a small price of a cup of coffee, or you can do it for absolutely free by going to carnivoretalk.com and registering for an account there. That's where we are Monday through Sunday, chatting it up and helping each other out, as well as some guests there and on their carnivore diet journey. So again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next Monday. Everybody have a good night. I'm going to end the stream right now.